Well, we have a condo at Lake of the Ozarks. And so I'm in Missouri.
Okay.
We have a condo at Lake of the Ozarks. It's kind of our home away from home. So we
Lake
can,
of the Ozarks. So draw me a picture. What does that look like there?
oh my goodness, it's absolutely beautiful. It is, the lake is gorgeous. I mean, this is a slow time of the year down here, but it's beautiful and it's so peaceful. Our condo is kind of back in a cove, so it's very quiet and it is my happy place, I have to tell you.
I know. So when you talk about happy places, are you there with your family for the holidays or?
My husband, now my parents do live down here, but they have their own place. And so I'm down here with my husband. My kids, both of my kids and my grandbabies are in Texas. And so we have to travel quite a ways to see them, about 12 hours. So
Are you guys going to all be together for the holiday season? A little
we
bit?
are, yes, we are actually going to be heading to Texas for Christmas. And I have triplet grandbabies. I don't know if you knew
What?
that.
Who does that?
Yes, yes, they're amazing. So they're my only three, but they just turned 3 years old in October.
So
And
what'd you get a combo of?
I got two boys and a girl. We have the variety pack.
Wow, wow, wow,
So,
wow,
yeah.
wow.
And then both of my kids and obviously my daughter-in-law and my babies they're all in Texas, and my daughter is not married. She turns 31 on Monday. So
Wow. What a
yeah.
blessing. What a blessing. And what a blessing it is to have you here on the edge
Thank
with
you.
me.
I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. Okay, Brains, you've come back. You keep coming back. Thank you. To the spot. Where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today, we have a powerhouse. We have a woman that has been in business over 41 years, and she is literally murdering it. I mean, she's killing it in every aspect. But I've got some tough questions for her because she's got a tall order. So I want to ask her, what does it look like in the world of marketing and business? And also, she says she can help you get to 6 and 7 figures. Well, we're going to see how that is because it's a tough economy and you are going to have to be responsible, Brains, for doing the work. She's an author. She's just a woman that is full of vigor and joy, and she's got triplet grandbabies. We're going to talk to her about that too. Here on the edge, let's welcome our guest today, Ann Carden. How are you, Ann?
I am doing awesome, April. Thank you so much for having me on. This is an honor and a pleasure, and I know we're going to have fun.
We are going to have fun. You are a fun kind of girl, and you look so pretty in blue. Is blue your favorite color?
It is my favorite color, and it's also my brand colors. You know, you tend to gravitate towards what you love, right? So, yes.
Exactly. Someone was just talking to me about branding, and they just did my colors as well. It is really indicative of who you are. And when people say branding, they don't really understand what that means. They think, oh, okay, I've got a logo. But it
Right.
takes a lot more than just having a logo to consider yourself branding your product or service. Tell us a little bit about what my brains should know when they're out there marketing their business and they're calling it a brand.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, it's a little bit different for every type of business, but when you are, say, a coach, an entrepreneur, or you're someone representing your business, you have a personal brand. Now, if you're talking about a business like, say, a small business like a plumbing company, a contractor, something along those lines, then you tend to brand your company. So it really depends. It's a little bit different, but ultimately, what a brand means, it's what your values are, it's what your mission is, it's what you stand for. It is how people should get to know you and what you want them to know about you.
Right, and how you want to be represented, because a lot of times companies
Absolutely.
have brand ambassadors, and I've been a brand ambassador, and they have to, still fall within that same framework. You've been in business for a long time. Tell us where it all began for you, Ann.
Oh my goodness, April. Going back 41 years, I spent 13 years in corporate in business management. I was managing multi-million dollar businesses in retail. And I left that when I had kids. After I had kids, being in retail management is very difficult. And we were living in California at the time, my husband and I. And we wanted to move back to the Midwest where our family was from. And I really wanted to stay home with my babies and raise them. They were being raised by a babysitter. when I was in, retail. I mean, the hours were horrendous for trying to be a mom. And so we moved back to the Midwest, and we moved to the country outside of a small town. And there just wasn't opportunity really for me to have a job or work. Also, when we left California, my husband gave back a company vehicle. So we moved back with one vehicle. And
Mm.
we were about 8 miles out of a small town. And financially, we really started struggling. And I was looking for a way to start making some extra money. There was a pivotal moment that I talk about, which is still really hard to talk about, even now after 29 years later of building my own businesses. My 4-year-old son needed shoes, and I sat down and cried because we just didn't have the money, and we were just very financially strapped. I mean, I left my corporate income, so we went to one income, and my husband was driving back and forth to the city, and it just was taking everything that we had to put food on the table and keep that roof over our head and get him back and forth to work. So that's how my
What was
first business started.
what was the best thing that you learned from that time? When you're being humbled, that is really when you are being tested, and you are having to come up with some strategies, and you have to be resourceful. What are some of the things that you really learned during your downtime?
Oh my goodness. I have to say, you really just hit the nail on the head when you said you have to be resourceful. The thing that I have learned, and even that I work with business owners, coaches, entrepreneurs with, is we all have gifts and talents. And if we just really learn how to tap into that, opportunities will really come up and will rear their head. And sometimes it's just about being quiet and really thinking about, I've got so much potential, I've got so many gifts and so many talents. How can I utilize this and make something from really nothing? Although it's not nothing, but that's really how my first business started.
Well, it is. I'm quick to say I know how to make a dollar out of 15 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Retail. You spoke about retail. Retail is the best place to learn every aspect of a business. I mean, from stocking to cashiering to balancing your drawer to, setting up your displays, customer service, returns, merchandising, shipping and handling. I mean, everything is covered in the retail space. But now retail looks very, very different with all of this online shopping. People are not going into brick and mortars anymore. So what would you say to a person that is in a retail space, be it, an owner or an employee,
Mm-hmm.
that is seeing this change, seeing this shift of the brick and mortars closing down and doing more online work? How do they position themselves to be competitive in this market? Because it's a lot of traffic.
Yes, and I think you're absolutely right when you're talking about retail. I think one thing is you have to be in both places. You have to be online.
Right.
And if you are going to have a brick and mortar business and you're going to basically have something offline, then you really have to think about the customer experience. What is going to make them want to come in, get in the car and drive and actually come into your business?
Right.
And I think number one, you have to be completely different so that they aren't going to just go and get online and shop. But it really has to be about the customer experience. And so that's really important if you're going to have any kind of a brick and mortar business today. When I sold my last two businesses, we had 25 competitors, and now it was fitness. So I had a high-end personal training studio. I had a high-end weight loss center. Those were my last two businesses before my coaching and consulting. And we had 25 competitors within a 2-mile radius. So I actually learned how to market and differentiate myself all through the years of building businesses. I have multiple stories about things that happened in business and how I had to set myself apart. And that's never going to change. And it doesn't even change if you're online. Even if you're online, you have to be different. You have to look different. You have to have a different customer experience than everyone else out there.
You do. And, again, what is the draw? But also, you've had so many opportunities. How have you been able to transcend your skill set from one business to another and continuously be successful? What has been your recipe for success?
Business is business, April. And the one thing a lot of people don't understand when they start a business, a lot of people start out of passion, which is really, my first one started out of need, but uh, they start out of passion. You're good at something, you have a skill, you have a knowledge, and you think, oh, I'm going to start a business with this. But then what happens is you realize at some point, I don't know what I'm doing. It's kind of like, going into a football game and you have no idea what the game is all about or how to play. You're going to get run over, right?
Right.
You're going to get crushed. And so you have to realize if you're going to start a business, you have got to understand business. You've got to understand marketing. You've got to understand sales. You've got to understand how to manage. I mean, there are so many moving parts, but really there are 6 areas in particular. But most people don't go into business thinking like that. They think I'm going to go out, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to get a customer, I'm going to sell it. That's not a business really, that's a job. And then what happens is the business starts to kind of outgrow them or exhaust them, or they burn out. And they have to realize, wow, I don't know what I'm doing here in business. And so that's probably the best advice I can give someone. So learning that, when you understand business, when you understand marketing and sales, you can go, it doesn't matter the business. I've worked in over 40 different types of businesses, probably more than that. Last I counted 40, with business owners and entrepreneurs. And they're all different businesses. And it doesn't matter because the same rules, the same principles, and the same strategies apply.
Right. Well, people love that big $25 word, entrepreneur. But I tell them all the time, you could end up being entrepreneur.
That's exactly right.
Because, it's on the grind. I hear people say, well, I want flexibility, or I don't want to deal with a boss, or I want to be able to have, time to do what I want to do. Well, you know what? That's not happening in the real world of an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is on the grind 24/7 because the only person that you have to rely on is self. The only person that your employees or supply chain has to rely on is you. So you've got to build the business. You've got to be actively engaged. You've got to pay the bills. You've got to learn how to hire where you're weak. You just named 6 areas. There's certain areas in my business that I am not the subject matter expert, and I need to know when to hire out and really respect that and build a team. Even though you have an entrepreneurial business, you still need a team, and you still need to be responsible to your client and your client base and your customers because essentially they're your new boss. Am I right, Ann?
You are spot on, April. The biggest myth out there is, oh, I'm going to start this so I don't have to work real hard, so I
Right.
have freedom. It is ridiculous. I've built 6 businesses for myself, and I've worked with hundreds of business owners, and I've never seen that. I've never seen that. The thing is, you can get your business to a place when you can scale your business. You can get it to a place where now you can step out and you can manage more from a distance, and you do want to build a business that can run without you. I was able to sell 5 businesses, and that was because I built basically turnkey businesses that could operate and run without me. But you still have to oversee it, and you can't take your hands off of the business, and you can't take you can't just step back and just forget about it.
Right.
Even if you have a CEO in place, you still have to manage the CEO. And so the biggest myth is people not realizing that and being real about really what it takes. I always say, you can work 140 hours for yourself, so you don't have to work 40 hours for someone else, right? That's the freedom that you get with being an entrepreneur.
Right. Well, and people nowadays seem like there's some shame associated with having a job. It's great. You
No.
can go in and do what you have to do, do a great job at that, learn, build your skill set, build your resources, build your portfolio, and collect a check. Again, from the flip side of being an entrepreneur. Now, I want to ask you a tough question. I read your bio. It says that you can help people get to 6, 7 figures. I talk to coaches all the time, And it's not you. I'm sure that you have the skill set. You've had 5, 6 businesses that you've sold. You've been very successful. But brains, you got to do the work. Okay. Ann can come in and she can lay it out. She can give you a strategy. She can tell you what she's done and encourage you. But if you're not on the grind, you're not going to make a dime. Am I right?
You are absolutely right. I basically, when I work with people, I map out their fastest path. I show them step by step exactly what to do. If they're working with me privately, I hold them accountable. And they absolutely can make the kind of money that I lay out for them in our strategy, but they still have to go and implement. And again, you can lead a horse to water, right?
Right. Right.
So, but yes, they have to do the work. Nobody is going to build your business for you. April, it kind of brings me up to a point. I see this more with coaches, is that they think that marketers should market for them for free and then get money on the back end. Or you see this with entrepreneurs. And I said, look, nobody's going to build your business for you. And what makes you think someone should put in all the work and all the effort to build your business, and you just sit back and then just give them a piece of it when it all works out, right? I think that is I think it's a very backwards way to think about building a business. And so I'm not a fan of that type of a business model.
So now when you look at an entrepreneur and a solopreneur, a solopreneur pretty much runs everything by themselves. I'm more of a solopreneur than an entrepreneur because I'm not building a business to essentially sell off to something else. People don't understand what those terms are. Can you define for us really in today's space, what is a solopreneur versus an entrepreneur?
Sure. I mean, I think basically you said it. A solopreneur is someone who really, to me, is more self-employed. They're just self-employed. They do kind of everything, even if they have a person or two people helping them in their business. They may contract out things, that kind of thing. So they might have a small team, but they're really not building a business. They have a job. To me, that's the difference. You can build a business or you can build a job. The problem with building just a job is you're really not building anything into an asset. It's all dependent on you. There's no security in that. If something should happen, April, you should get sick or you should have a life change or something should happen, you're basically out of business, right? Now,
Right.
there are some things you can do to create some passive income or some reoccurring revenue or things like that. But ultimately, that is still going to at some point stop if you can't work your business. But a business is more about being able to have a business that can run without you at some point when you get it to that place, or you can even sell it someday.
Okay, well, now we're in 2020, and the word on the street is that women are taking back over the planet.
We are, yay.
I know, I love it. Bravo. However, what are you seeing some of the challenges that women face in the workplace? Because I see that they have a problem making a decision. I see that they have a challenge closing the deal. I see they have a challenge knowing their value and their worth. I see that they have a challenge with really managing their money and knowing how to make it work for them and pouring it back into their business, not commingling, paying the cable bill and the groceries out of your business fund. What are some of the challenges that you see women face? And give us a couple suggestions.
Yes, I mean, I think it goes back to the same principles as you need to understand business and you need to understand, you can have a hobby or you can have a business, right?
Right.
And so
A
I think
jobby,
that
I call it a jobby hobby.
Jobby, I love it. I love it. No, I mean, that's really true. I think for a lot of women, a lot of times they maybe they're a second income, right? So maybe they're married or they have a spouse that works or so they're a second income. And I think that's not, most of the time they don't take their business really serious. So it's not about, they don't think of it like I need to make money. A lot of women, I think that one of the biggest things is that women get into business thinking, I want to make extra money and I love to help people, but they don't think of it like a business, right? And so when you're thinking of when you're thinking of what you're doing like a business, you make decisions very differently. You understand that you have to invest back in. You understand that you have to learn the skills, and that may require you investing in yourself and your knowledge and to learn what you need to learn to be successful in business. And the biggest thing I see with women is, for a lot of them, is they don't understand that part. And there's just a lot of them are just kind of, I don't want to offend anyone, but I see a lot of playing, a lot of not really treating it like a business.
Yeah, no, they're at the networking meeting, and instead of making connections and getting numbers and following up, they're talking about shoes and where they're going on vacation and all that. There's never any, they collect the cards, they never go in and call the people and never follow up. So they're jobby hobby, and they are not going to take it serious. And it's not going to last that way. I mean, you could be a person that's baking cookies, but you better be sure that you can fulfill orders, and that you have good customer service, and that you're out in people's face all the time. Publicity and marketing. The key is, I tell people all the time, if people don't know where you are or what you do, it's a moot point.
Exactly.
And I see you out there all the time. I mean, you are right there in folks' face, letting them know what you do and how to contact you. What are some of the things that you see are going on in that space right now? Everybody's thinking it's just social media. I tell them, you better diversify, because you're riding on this pony for free, honey. And once they figure out what they're going to do with social media, because it's gotten so large, people don't have funnels, they don't have other resources. What do you suggest in building a database and building a client base and staying in the front of customers right now on an ongoing platform outside of social media? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So one of the things that makes me, I think, very different from a lot of coaches and consultants out there helping people, in business, whether that's coaches, entrepreneurs, small business owners, I work with all of them, is a lot of people are kind of a one-trick pony, and they're teaching people one way to market. So, be on Facebook, or be on this, or be on that. And the one thing that I have learned is the most powerful brand and the most powerful business is one where you're seen everywhere, where you're offline and you're online, and you can merge the two, and they should really work together. The thing that by me being online so much, small business owners, the ones that I work with, like on the other side of my business, I actually don't get them online. I get them offline through speaking, through workshops, that kind of thing. Online, though, they still see me, they still find me, it builds the know, like, and trust factor. And so it really comes down to having a strategy with what you are doing, so that you're not wasting a lot of time, energy, and effort. And that's probably the biggest thing I see in the marketplace today, is a lot of people are out there just kind of flailing around in their marketing, and they're not reaching their ideal clients. They're just not reaching them, or they're reaching them, but they don't have a clear marketing strategy and message that's resonating with their clients. So ultimately their clients don't even really know what they do or how that person can help them. And so just having a clear message and a clear strategy about who you help and what you do, and then knowing where your clients are so you can actually put that right in front of them, is the most important piece of marketing. And then you've got to do it. You've got to have, I say you need a rinse and repeat marketing system that will give you all the clients and customers you want. And when you can dial in a rinse and repeat system that works like clockwork, you will never be out of business. You will always have a business.
You will. And Brains, I'd like to share with you too that it's very important that you honor and you respect your clients. To get a client, nurture that relationship, foster that relationship, make money, get good reviews, and then be able to go back to them and say, hey, you want to do business again, is huge. It's not just about, oh, okay, well, this person bought a bouquet of flowers for me today. I'm happy. No, you want them to come back for the wedding. You want them to come back for the funeral. You want them to come back just every week because they like pretty flowers in their house. It's long-term sustainability. It takes a lot of money, time, and effort to cultivate clients and to keep them, in your repertoire. Acknowledge them, send them, a card. Always phone calls, always work really well. I don't know. What do you feel about some of these funnels? I find that people pretty much find that like summits and things like that, that marketing approach, they don't like it. They feel violated. They feel like they're being spammed. What's your experience with funnels and with summits?
I think there's a right way and a wrong way, to do these things. I feel like the very best way to get people into your ecosystem, build your list, build your audience, it is to really attract them, not spam them. Now they have to see you. And so you still have to do the work to get whatever in front of them. But ultimately you want people raising their hand that they're interested in what you have. And
Right.
there are a lot of ways to build a funnel. I mean, I think when people think of a funnel, they think of like a ClickFunnels, right? Like a click funnel. But there are a lot of ways to build a funnel. I have a funnel where I, move people into my Facebook group. If they're a coach or an entrepreneur or an expert, I move them into my Facebook group, and then I can stay in front of them. I can nurture that relationship. They sign up to get on my email list from that. And so I built my audience, and there's no landing page or anything for that. They just, I reach out to them, I connect with them, and then they join my Facebook group. That's a funnel. It's still a funnel. And
Right.
then within that group, I educate, I give value, and then I sell some of my services in there. So
Right.
I think when people are thinking about a funnel, they're thinking about an automated thing, and it doesn't have to be that way. A funnel can be as simple as reaching out to someone who's your ideal client, offering them something of value, and letting them check that out. And then when they check that out, they book a call with you. You give them a way to book a call. That can be a simple funnel that can get people into sales conversations. But you're allowing that person to take the lead, excuse me, and you are not chasing them. You're just giving them value. So value first is a big mantra of
Absolutely.
mine.
Absolutely. Coloring in those white spaces and asking for the business.
Yes, you do have to have a call to action.
Yeah,
Excuse
they
me.
don't do it. They just think, okay, well, I've had a conversation with you and now we're just sitting here, la, 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 la. No, it's just like a job interview. You have to ask for
Yes.
it. So what is it I can do for you, Anne? Are you ready to come on board?
Yes.
What other services do you need? You have to ask for the business. I'm here for you. All of those type things. And then you have to deliver. Let's deliver on some fun stuff because you are such a powerhouse when it comes to business and you got such a sweet face. I want to ask you maybe just 10 random questions and you tell me just really what comes to your mind. How about that?
Oh
Okay.
boy. Oh boy.
So you
You
think
warned me about this.
so you think Anne Carden. Let's see. Okay.
All right, shoot.
What is your favorite pastime activity?
Oh my gosh. I would have to say playing with my triplet grandbabies is my favorite. If I can do that. If I can't do that, I love adventuresome type of things. I skydived this year for the first time. I like to four-wheel. I like to do things that, I had spent 20 years in the fitness industry. And so, as a trainer and taught classes and all that. So I'm pretty, I like to be active.
All right. Well, that's good. If you were an animal, Anne, what animal would you be and why?
I would have to say a lion.
Wow.
Because I feel like there's nothing that I can't overcome. There's nothing that I can't, get through. And I just love the fierceness of a lion.
Okay. You know what animal I'd be?
Which
a party
one?
animal. Ooh, tell me three
I would
things.
say that fits you because
Yeah,
you're
that's
such
me.
fun.
You see, that's me. Okay. Tell me three things that you just absolutely cannot live without.
Oh my goodness. I would have to say my phone, my computer, and my family and friends. I'll have to lump them together. Oh gosh, I can't say. I also have a strong faith, so I can't live without that.
All right.
So,
Hey, I appreciate that. What's your biggest pet peeve?
oh my goodness, you're really going to get me started here. My biggest pet peeve is business coaches who have never owned a business except the one they're in. And they're out there trying to teach people how to run businesses. That drives me crazy.
I know, because again, you've gotta know there's a lot of trainees out there that think that they're coaches, and I honor you, but you have to, bump your head against the wall several times to really kind of make an impact and know what's going on out there.
Hmm.
What brings you joy?
My family.
Mm,
That's easy.
that's good. What's been one of your biggest regrets or biggest mistakes in business?
My biggest regret, I don't know if it's a regret, April, as much as when I was building businesses for all those years, I didn't have the opportunity or didn't know about coaches, consultants, people that could come in and help me and teach me more about what I was doing. I mean, I was savvy, but when I look back to what I know now, if I would have known everything that I know now back then when I was building those businesses, it would have been such a game changer. So it's not really a regret. I just wish I would have had that opportunity, which is why I'm super passionate about people not taking the horse and buggy to their success. Take the jet plane and hire someone to help you.
Right. Okay, so I want to, before I ask the other questions, I want to dive into that a little bit. What are we looking for? When we're looking for a coach, give me three things that we're looking for.
You need someone who has a depth of experience and knowledge and skills. You need someone who has credibility. And you need someone who is going to be what you need. So there's a lot of different types of coaches and people out there. For example, if I need help with profitability and building a team and marketing, hiring a leadership coach is not probably going to be the best fit, or a mindset coach may not be the best fit. And so really know what it is you need, where your gaps are, where your weaknesses are, and what's holding you back. And then that's really the person you want to look for.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people out there with a lot of experience, like you say, but if you're looking for a particular thing, then you want to find a coach in that niche market.
Yes.
What was your favorite era? Was it the 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s?
Oh my goodness. I loved the 70s. I loved the 70s, but I probably have to say the 80s because that's when my kids were born.
Yeah.
And that was just a fun time too. So I don't know. I that's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Oh my goodness. My favorite superhero. I would have to say Wonder Woman.
I know, Wonder Woman. I know the big W on your chest.
Is she still around? I don't even know if she's still
Yeah,
around.
she's still got that lasso and she's
Yeah.
spinning around and yeah, she's doing some stuff. That's good. Give me one or two great takeaways from my brains that, when they're sitting there and they're scratching their head and they're at a crossroads. Do I go back to work? Do I just dissolve this business? Do I hire a coach? What are one or two questions that they might ask themselves to really kind of hash that out?
Hmm. I think one thing you can do is take out a piece of paper and write the pros and cons. I don't think everyone should own a business, April. I mean, you kind of hit on it, excuse me, at the beginning when you said that a job, there's nothing wrong with having a job. I think a lot of people should be in a job. I think there is a certain type of personality that they just do better in a job. Because being in business requires a lot of things. You have to have the characteristics to build your business. You have to be able to market, you have to be able to sell. And so I think you really have to sit down and think about, is this really for me? Am I someone that is self-motivated? Am I someone that can do everything that I need to do without having to be accountable to someone else? Do I have that drive and that ambition? Am I afraid to do things? If you're afraid all the time, you're going to have a very difficult time building a business.
Right. Right.
So I think that's the first thing is figure out, is this really you? Is this really something? I mean, it sounds so glamorous, right? To have your own
Right.
business and have freedom, but it's not realistic to.
It's not, and you have to be a risk taker.
You absolutely do.
And
Yes.
you can't just take your family's livelihood and just, willy-nilly with a wild hair up your ass and say, oh, okay, I'm just going to start a business. I'm going to quit my job.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have buy-in. You've got to have a partnership. Again, it's a risk taker, and it may work and it may not. But this has worked for us because we have a Wonder Woman with a lion that loves her phone, her computer, her family, her faith, loves the outdoors and the color blue. And thank you so much for all that you have lent to us and shared with us. Very valuable information. I mean, we went deep. Brains, go back and listen to it over again, and again, can help you raise your revenue to 6-7 figures. Again,
Or
it just
more.
depends on, or better, it just depends on the business. And even if you don't make it to that much, you will be a far cry from where you were. And please tell my brains how to get in contact with you. Oh, and before we leave, I want to talk about your book because you just released a new book. Do you have
Yes.
it there with you?
No, I do not. So it's actually just got loaded onto Amazon. So it should be available on Amazon next week. We will probably do a bestseller push. So I do not have a copy yet, but it will be on Amazon next week. And it is called Expert in You: Build a Lucrative and Impactful Coaching and Consulting Business with Your Expertise. So it's really about helping people build a coaching and consulting business, but it will be my third book. So, and I have a
Wow.
fourth one already in my head.
All right. So that's good. I hope it's something that has to do with adventure. Maybe the things that you've learned as you're floating in the air.
No, it's still going to be business because, it's interesting. My passion is also the thing that I find so fun. So I'm one of those people so that, I love what I do. And so it never feels like I'm working, even when I'm working 24/7. I shouldn't say I'm working 24/7. I
Well,
don't.
you are. You're an entrepreneur. And I want to give people a realistic taste of what that looks like. I mean, don't you wake up in the middle of the night and have your pencil and paper on the side of the bed? So, oh, wow, I got a great
Sometimes.
idea. Yeah, let me go ahead and do this. Or let me follow up with that. Or, you're on vacation. Let me take this phone call. So entrepreneurs really are on the grind
Yeah.
24/7. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you, Ann.
Yes, you can find me on obviously Facebook or LinkedIn. You can Google me even, and you'll find multiple ways. But you can go to my website, annlcarden.com, or I have also a coaching site, anncardencoaching.com.
You have been so fun and so delightful. Thank you so much for being here on the edge with me and my brains. Please come back. Let us know when the book is available. Let us know. We'll put it here. We'll run a little promotion for you. Again, because I value my guests that are on my show. I value my clients. I have a turnkey approach for success because it's important when you're building a business. Be serious about it or go back and get a job. There's no shame in it. Thank you so much for being here on the edge. Come back and visit me again soon, okay?
Thank you, April. This was such a pleasure. It
Thank
was
you.
fun.
Brains, subscribe to everything, okay? So that you know what's going on here on the edge. Bye, guys. Have an amazing day.